In this video tutorial, we are going to improve the look of our website template. We're going to take a rather plain looking template, as we can see at the top of the screen here, and we're going to apply a number of improvements that should make a better looking web page. For example, we are going to add the logo and then make sure that that logo is lined up centrally with the text in the header. We're going to put a sidebar on that has rounded corners, drop gradients. We'll also have buttons with drop gradients, rollovers on the buttons so that the button we're currently looking at is highlighted, drop shadows on text, and rounded buttons on the buttons themselves, and some spacing at the side of the sidebar. So lots of improvements, including being able to see the full text on the page at the same time. We're going to start by improving our header. This will involve putting a logo in there and then also applying a gradient. So I'm going to start off by looking at my website. Notice that I have included here a small image that I'm going to use as a logo, and that this logo is a PNG image which has a transparent background. To open my website, I can go to Template here, and I can open this page directly into Microsoft Expressions. Notice also that we have a style sheet that is separate from the template where all of our CSS style information is kept. And this is important so that we can apply it to every page in the website. So I'm going to click on Template HTML, right click there and choose Open with Microsoft Expression Web 4. And that should then open up my website into the editor. And I can also get Site View, and I can open up Shop Style CSS so that my style information is available as well. So first of all, I'm going to attempt to put my logo into the header of the web page. I'm going to do this by clicking at the start of the text in here. So before the M of Morton's, it's the very first character in the header. I'm going to go to Insert, Picture from File, and then I'm going to browse into the folder that my website's in, where you can see I've got my pet logo. I'm going to insert that, and it wants an alternate text which is used for screen readers for people with disabilities, so I'm just going to type logo there and click OK, and I've now put that picture into the page. Now, it's a bit in the big side, and I would really advise you that you use a very small logo so that it's not a wasted, huge picture, because we're going to shrink it down, and really the size of it should probably not be more than about 100 pixels. So I'm going to go for about 100 pixels tall, and that should be about the right size. You'll notice, however, that the text is now lining up with the bottom of this picture here, and that is one of the things that we'll fix a little bit later. Notice also that because I used a transparent image, there's no white box around the image. It's taking on the colour of the background here. So, our first instruction then is going to be to go to colorzilla.com, and notice it's an American spelling of colour there. So colorzilla.com to use their ultimate gradient generator. So I go to colorzilla.com, and I have a few tools already available here. You should then pick, and I would recommend you start with a preset that's close to what you need in your website. My website is a pet shop, and I want something that maybe suggests fur. So I'm going to go for something brownish like this here. But maybe I want to then change some of the colours. Maybe I want to edit this one here, this colour stop. So I'm going to double click on that, and I choose something that's a darker brown, click OK. I maybe don't want it to be this copperish color, so I'm going to click on this one here, and then I'm going to add that to be a little bit more yellow. Click OK, and that's my gradient. Notice you can also make changes like whether it's vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. So I'm going to go one that's horizontal across the screen, like so. And when you have that, you are then ready to copy the code. So we want to take the CSS and then apply it to our web page. When I mouse over this box here, a copy button appears here, and I'm going to click on that copy button and it says copied to clipboard. I'm then going to return to Microsoft Expressions. I'm going to come into Shop Style. So this is my CSS, my linked CSS style. And I need to find the header section, which is probably right at the top of your page. We need to add this new style that makes a gradient at the end of the existing code, but before this closing curly bracket. So the best way to do that is to click at the end of the existing code, press enter to make yourself a space, and then you can right click and paste to add the gradient information there. Now if I save that and then go back and look at the template, you'll see that when I click into the page here, not really much has happened. And that's because Expressions can't really show new CSS information particularly well. But if I save this and then File, Preview in Browser Chrome, then you can see that my brownish gradient has now been applied to this website. I'll obviously need to change my text here so that it stands out a bit better. So, coming back to my instructions, I've found the header section in my style sheet. I've pasted into a blank space here extra information about the gradient, and I've made sure that it stays inside the closing curly bracket. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is to fix that logo. So you can see that I'm going to use a hashtag ID this time to select just the picture that's in the logo. So the idea is that I'm going to highlight the picture. I'm going to give it an ID. I'm going to give it a special name that can be found by my CSS selectors. And then I'm going to make it vertically align the text so that it matches up to the middle of that picture. So it's block, vertical align, middle needs to be applied. And then we should get the text lining up properly. So back to my image here. I'm going to click on the image and you see it highlights up in the code section the image tag that's related to that. I'm going to click inside the tag in my code section. I'm going to press the space bar and it pops up a list of things which includes ID. When I press the tab key, it puts some quotes for me to type the ID in here, and I'm going to call it logo align. And notice I'm using camel case here, capital L, capital A, but no space between them. So I've now got a special name on this image, and you'll see that it's appearing here in the preview window. And what I need to do is to add a style to apply to that. So coming down here, I'm going new style. My editor pops up. I'm going to delete everything that's in the selector box and I'm going to put hashtag logo align. So it has to be exactly the same as I called it in the code. I don't want to do it in the current page. I want to do it in the existing style sheet. And I'm going to browse and choose my shop style style sheet for that to happen to. And we're looking for block, vertical align, middle. And if I apply that, you should see that behind here the text has now jumped to match up to the middle of my logo. So I've fixed the alignment on there, and that should look a lot better. I'm just very quickly going to sort this color because remember it clashes with my existing gradient now. So I click on header, I right click and modify style, and then XX large is not good enough. I need to have something that's a bit bigger, so I'm going to then give a size. I'm going to try 50 pixels and apply, and you see it's a bit bigger but not big enough. So I'm maybe going to go for 80 pixels and apply, and that's a bit more like it. Maybe 100 pixels and apply, and that is looking probably better when it appears in the actual browser itself. It's going on to a second line here, but it'll be fine when it's in the actual browser. The other thing I need to fix is the color here. So I'm going to make that a very dark red that should stand out a bit better against my gradient. Click OK, click Apply, and OK, and then we're ready to move on to the next instruction. So my logo's sorted, that's stage 2. Stage 3 is to improve the buttons in the navigation bar. So I'm going to go to something called CSS3buttongenerator.com, and that lets me make styles for buttons. So I'm just going to go here. Here's CSS3buttongenerator.com. I can choose a whole load of things here. I can choose the font that's being used. I can choose the font color. I'm going to go for something quite dark maybe. I'm going to drag that down to there and then tick. I can choose the font size to be a bit bigger maybe 32, something like that. I can choose the background color. So I'm going to go for something that's a bit orangey perhaps. So I drag these down to orange, and then this over to here. A bit mustardy, that's okay, fine for me. So that is my font, and that's the text shadow which I can click on. I can then also do things like the border. So the border is going to be maybe a deep red. So something like that. And I click that on, so you can see that's come around here. And then I'm going to make a hover. Now, the hover is what happens when you mouse over, and you can see that's just changing color ever so slightly there. So the starting color is going to be fitting in with my sort of mustardy colors, light yellow. And then when I hover over it, I want it to be a much darker, deepish brown, maybe somewhere about there. So now you'll see that when I mouse over, I get a much better hovering style. Now this time when I'm copying the code, I'm going to have to highlight manually. So I'm dragging from dot button down to the end of the code. I'm not getting anything else, just the code that's in here, and I'm copying that. Right clicked and copied. I come back to my style sheet, and I come down to where I've got my NavTD. Now you need to be really careful about this here. I'm going to take my NavTD here, and I'm going to highlight, and then I'm going to edit paste. So I've highlighted everything that was in the brackets, and I've replaced it with the new information. Now it put in dot button here. I need to remove the dot button. So I just want NavTD to look like this first section, and then just below this we've got dot button hover, and I'm going to change that to NavTD hover. And then I'm going to save all, and then it's going to make sure it's put that in there, and then preview in browser, and you can see that my buttons have been applied.